This week on the channel, we are talking Wynton Marsalis. And whether you love or hate, and we know there's a big gap of y'all out there between the two, we've got something for you to listen to. This episode is going to be really phenomenal. Dig in, listen. But one thing you have to admit, the man can play a horn.
Does he ever let go? Does he ever truly let go and just
Ooh.
let go? Let's find out on this week's episode.
This is AI-generated Wynton Marsalis. Give the unconnoisseurs a listen on their YouTube channel and be sure to like and subscribe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Unconnoisseur channel. My name is Drew.
And my name is Matt.
We want to help everybody discover their own jazz music styles, their own flavors, their own personal desires. But more importantly, we want to bring you along on our journey as we found so much life in the jazz music and in the history of jazz music, just like we discussed last week with Bix Beiderbecke. What an incredible week of music to listen to him and understand the history of it. So hopefully y'all found something that you appreciated in last week's album, and you'll find something this week. For us, this personal journey began a little over a year ago. Brothers talking jazz, what can be better?
That's right. It's a person, it's a discovery thing too. We're discovering so much about ourselves and what we like that we can share with everyone. That's the important thing to me is the discovery of new music, and you know what? Some of it we like, some of it we don't. And it's okay, but the stuff that we like, whew, man.
We like.
Yes, we do.
A lot like this week's artist. Do you want to talk about, give everybody a heads up? Because I know that we're going to get to it in a moment. We'll get to our own personal stuff. But this week was really killer.
So this week, the music that we had in our ears, what we told you about at the end of last episode, Wynton Marsalis, Black Codes from the Underground from 1985. This was on Columbia Records, and it was released on LP and CD. We'll wait to get to the discussion, but man, Drew, how was your week in music? What else did you have going on? What else was influenced in your life this week that helped you listen to Black Codes?
You know, this week's been a pretty chill week around here. A lot of work. It was Mother's Day yesterday, so we got to do fun stuff. I guess I got to spend some time with Sarah on Friday night, and then we had a fun dinner last night. That was really about it. Work, play, music this week. Because we are on Wynton, I listened to, well, I gorged on a lot of Wynton Marsalis this week. And we're still studying somebody else on the week for tomorrow's conversation, which I've had music rolling out of my ears. It's been just a wild ride.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your week been like?
Well, again, pretty chill. Except last Wednesday, of course, was Delaney's graduation, and so we had a great celebration with her Wednesday night after graduation was over. I had the family over for dinner. So it was a special time. I'm so proud of that girl that I don't want to tear up because I probably will, but I'm so proud of her. She works super hard to get her degree, and what do you know? We're going to put her to work too. So had the we had the long grains over Friday night in studio. And so I'm pleased to announce that coming up in the next couple of episodes, we're going to have some theme music to our channel, recorded by the Long Grains, and then it's going to be produced by none other than Lady D. We got Lady D on the drums, and she's going to help produce the album or the song for us. So I'm super excited.
The Long Grains.
The Long Grains, yeah. And just all of the music in my ears. It's funny because there are weeks where there's music that you get to listen to, there's music that you want to listen to, and there's music that you have to listen to. On our journey, let's face it, we have to listen to an album a week. But the albums that we get to listen to and the albums that we want to listen to often intersect. And I've both of the artists that we're studying this week, both on our personal journey and for the channel today, it's the get to and the want to. So I had a hard time choosing.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Lot of music.
Otherwise, yep. Mother's Day yesterday was chill. Great day, spent with mom and my wife and the kids for Mother's Day. So it's a great day. Weekend music was awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
Good. I'm going to do a little plug here. We've got June 10th through the 14th coming up, the Texas Jazz and Blues Camp. So I'm getting ready to do that, video and photographer for that week. Lily's going to be a participant playing the tenor saxophone. I think that we've currently got 50 students signed up, but we're doing that last minute push. That'll be Texas Jazz and Blues Camp, June 10th through the 14th. That's my plug for them. So moving right along.
Well, not to mention that Lily's going to get to spend that time with, other musicians. She's going to get to hang out. She's going to get to learn more about music and about the art and her instrument and make, heck, you never know. She may make a lifelong friend there at that
Absolutely.
camp.
And that reminds me, probably the week that this comes out, I'm going to backtrack on the Bix Beiderbecke week. When I said that I couldn't improv my way out of a wet paper bag, this Saturday we were at sax lesson for Lily, and Joe had us doing My Romance. And the backtrack kept going, so Lily just flawlessly improvised for, it was actually two sets. She doubled up, and Joe looked at me and started pointing, and I thought, oh crap, it's my turn to improv on My Romance. And it's a beautiful tune. So I do have an actual recording of Lily and I playing My Romance, and I will put it on the channel for everybody to take a peek. And then when we do the long grains, we'll have to play that music just so that people understands the importance. Who my piano, who my vocal was, who sax, trumpets, flugelhorn and trumpets, drums, and whoever else we get to play on it. So that's gonna be so cool, Matt.
Oh,
That's
it's
gonna
gonna
be
be
so
great.
cool.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I've got a quote coming up in my slideshow that's going to tie into that specific thing about how to learn to play together. So coming up in
Okay.
my slideshow here in just a few minutes, we'll cover a little bit of that. But yeah, I'm super excited to get started with this week with this talk because
So then I'm going to put the slide up. Without further ado, let's talk about Wynton Marsalis, baby.
all right, for those of you that don't know, Wynton is a trumpet player. And on this album, he plays with his brother Branford, who is a saxophone player. And Branford, I'm sure that you've heard Branford Marsalis if you've ever heard Sting, and if you've ever listened to other jazz, you've heard Branford. Kenny Kirkland on the piano, Charnette Moffett on the bass, Jeff Tane is his nickname, Tane, Jeff Tane Watts on the drums. This album was recorded on the 11th and the 14th of January. So I just found that interesting that they were able to lay down 6 tracks in 2 days of recording, and then it actually came out in June of 85. So literally just 5 months later, the album was released. So let's talk about Wynton. If you don't mind, let me read this paragraph. And again, we're using Jazzwise magazine, the top 100 albums that shook the world. If this is your first episode watching, this is how Drew and I are deciding to do our jazz journey. We're going counting down from number 100, and this is album number 83. So we are 17 albums, 17 weeks into our journey at this point. And I'm just going to read this paragraph. It's so funny because when I read stuff out of the paragraph on the channel, it reminds me of how you used to read it to me because I didn't have the magazine. We'd talk every Tuesday, and you'd have to read me the whole paragraph or send a picture so I could read it. Yeah. So this read
it to me.
Yeah, I'm going to. Marsalis believed jazz's prestige suffered from the fallacy or lie. It was a product of emotion and not intellect. So the staff at Jazzwise wrote that sentence about Wynton Marsalis. Now, we're going to later in our discussion, we'll talk about how Wynton himself kind of he says no, that's not exactly true. And you found that. Where did you find that at?
This
where
was actually from
that?
2009, Downbeat Magazine, October 2009. And as we said, as we got ready to record, I don't know if it completely contradicts that statement, but something made us both go, well, wait a minute. Is that really a true statement?
Yeah. Well, and again, we talked a little bit about the statement itself. It was a product of emotion. Jazz, the prestige of jazz is a product of emotion and not intellect. The emotion being, how does it make you feel? How do you feel when you play? How do you feel when you watch the people dance on the dance floor? How does the jazz music make you feel? Whereas Wynton comes at it like, hey, we got to lay it down just like this every time intellectually. And I don't know. You know, you and I have had several hours of discussion about how intellectual he is and how he never kind of really lets go. Um,
It's interesting because I think that I find that on both ends of this, he is not in the middle where people agree. He is so polarizing in his language, in his playing, in his teaching, in what he does at Jazz at Lincoln Center, which is killer. I think that people really love or really don't love, but there's nothing that blends together in the middle. Coming from a long line, a historic name, Ellis Marsalis has 6 sons. 4 of those sons are jazz musicians. Branford being the eldest, and I'm looking at you on the screen, followed by Wynton. I think there's that relationship from the history of jazz. And if by chance, and I wrote down the term purist or traditionalist, if the terminology that I saw this morning for him, straight ahead jazz, at 60s, jazz changed forever. And if you really are going to claim to be a jazz musician, then what happened 60s, 50s, 40s, even Bix Beiderbecke? What happened in the late 20s with jazz music from the New Orleans style? And so I think that it's a polarizing conversation, and that makes me wonder, is it about the technique or is it about the emotion? Is it about feeling it? And the article that Downbeat has in 2009 says how to make students learn. This was point number 5. The best way I've found to combat the haze of uninspired participation is engulf some of the young with a director that is truly aggressively inspired. And it goes in number 4 to say, embrace the dance beat. You got to feel the rhythm before you focus on scales, before you focus on the technique. And so I kind of wondered from this Downbeat magazine, October 2009 special edition, if it doesn't contradict the statement.
mm-hmm.
But I also remember us reading the book by Wynton on what is called On Higher Ground.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And I think that if I learned anything from that book from Wynton, is that first, go study the greats. What did they teach? What did they tell you? And if you listen to the trumpet in the greats, I see you smiling. You got some stuff on that one. If they're teaching something, did you hear it? And so I think that the technical comes from the ability to hear what they're saying, the rhythms, the terminology, the phrasing, if you will. Bo-do-do-do-do-do-do, the lick. Everybody knows it, right? If we learn from those greats, then we do become a very technical, proficient player. If you can play Louis Armstrong stuff, then by every means.
Well, and that's something that I struggle with more than anything. More than anything, when I listen to jazz, and I can hear the licks, I can hear specific nuances in the licks, but I still, even today, on the journey that we're on, farther along, I still have trouble picking out exactly what they're trying to say. And when you watch Wynton on a YouTube video that he's instructing someone, he says, take a drink of water. Now play that. Take a drink of water. Booba dabba. Take a deep breath. Dooba dabba da. Now play it. I still struggle to kind of hear what exactly they're trying to say. I can feel it. I can get their feeling out of the music, but man, trying to hear what they have to say, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, I'm sure. But and Clark Terry, we laugh about it all the time. Diddle deedle diddle doodle doo,
Daddle
and
deedle
that's
diddle
what,
doodle doodle.
yeah, that was on a Clark Terry documentary that we watched, and he was trying to get the kid he was instructing to feel the music and play it and hear something different in your head. But so the statement that you read with an inspired instructor, that's right there.
Inspired instruction.
Yeah. So you
And
need that.
I want to say this real
instructor.
quick because we do encounter this a lot in our conversations back and forth. There is a technical ability that has to be there. If you can't play, you can't play. And it doesn't matter if you've got the rhythm or the feel. I can dance my butt off and play every single wrong note that there is. And so I think that some of that, and I want to talk about this with Wynton later, he is classically trained. Carnival, listen to those albums. Proficient as all proficient could be. And I kind of think about who his instructors might have been. You had just seen Mr. Schmidt, I'm going to say it by name, Mr. Schmidt, out of the respect that he taught us how to play proficiently. Practice does not make perfect, practice makes permanent. You better practice it right if you're going to get it. And so I kind of think about that with Wynton. That's a side comment, but
Well, okay, so let's dissect a little bit because he is classically trained and he can lay down those classic albums and never make a mistake. I mean, you guys, if you want some interesting listening, my favorite album, even over the jazz album, Black Codes from the Underground, what we're talking today, my favorite Wynton album is Carnival, and it's a classical album, and he's playing with the London Symphony Orchestra. Flight of the Bumblebee, one of the hardest pieces. Well, I mean, he plays a lot of hard pieces on that album, but Flight of the Bumblebee, it's a 2.5-3 minute song where he never takes a breath. He does circular breathing and keeps air in his chops and circular breathes, but the technical ability that it takes to play that particular song, for instance, and then you come over to the jazz side where he can be a little more relaxed. You made that statement a year ago, and it's never left my brain. He never fully releases on the jazz side. If he would just let go and just wail on the jazz side like he can wail,
yeah,
on the classical side, there might be a different discussion today of him being a better jazz artist than a classical artist. But don't get me wrong, he's a great jazz artist.
I think it's going to be interesting because it is a polarizing conversation. It really is. There's going to be people that hate us for choosing one side or the other and trying to find our way down the middle of this to say that he's brilliant and that he needs to relax. He's brilliant and needs to relax. And does he need to relax, or is he just that brilliant? So this has been a year-long dialogue about Wynton. That's for sure.
Reading the book, it was several weeks after we listened to him that we decided to read the book, and the discussions that we've had, per chapter, because we kind of read it on the same timeline like we normally do, or our studies and stuff, and it was just so interesting just reading the book and finding out who his heroes were, and again, my spouse was watching the episode last week, and she was laughing because our scores reflect our ignorance on that, coming up on the episode that came out last week, and since you've already seen it, it was Bix, and so she was laughing at me. Oh, you guys you're trying to justify your scores already. Well, we didn't know until we read the book that Bix was a hero of Wynton.
And what did you say about that?
When I say hero, I don't necessarily mean hero, but he might have been influenced by Bix a little bit. And so
a little lot.
So if the hero of my hero isn't my hero, am I in trouble? and that's where you and I, we tell ourselves, we punch ourselves in the throat for the score that we gave Bix, but on this journey, we're still learning a lot about ourselves and about the jazz music and who influenced who. So
This
Yeah, go.
I was going to say this week was a turning point for me in jazz music. You know, we're on episode, whatever we're at today, 17. This is episode 17, album 83 in this. 17 weeks in, and it finally dawns on me what jazz music could sound like. And the technical ability in this album for him to play. My first note was, oh, this is what a jazz album's supposed to sound like. Coming after Bix Week and understanding that Bix may not have been a New Orleans jazz musician, but he had that Dixieland ragtime style and feel. And I know why Matt's smiling, because we ended up watching the movie this week as well, the Buddy Bolden movie. But if you took those two, Bix and Bolden, and we talked about them together last week, those sounds were very similar. They both had that rich, bold. Hearing the Bix album with done by Randy Sandkey, which is on the episode last week, just it blew me away because I have not listened to that one before.
Right.
Listening to the Buddy Bolden music soundtrack, I had not heard that. But I really believe that this week, when I heard this album, oh, that's what jazz is. And I said this last year, and I said it throughout the year. This is when jazz music got ruined for me, because now I know what it should be. And I know that a comment a month ago about just go to the number one best album ever. Go listen to that, and that's your gold standard from here on out. And you can really, truly judge after that. This became my gold standard album. This is what I now expect to hear in jazz music. And it ruined me, because now I have this expectation that every album after that, it's either going to meet this or it's going to get destroyed by this. Because
I agree. I agree 100%. And I have been a Wynton Marsalis fan for a long time, but I've been stuck on the classical side of things. And I never really, I own the CD Standard Time Volume 1. I've probably listened to it a dozen times over the last 20 or 30 years. Okay. Only a dozen times. So I didn't know it inside and out. I didn't know every little nuance. It just wasn't my style. And so when Wynton Week came up, I remember I promised you that I would not listen to Carnival except for one time throughout the week. Because I would pull up Carnival, man. I'd just pull it up out of the blue and just listen to Carnival I'd be out mowing my yard listening to Carnival before, and I promised you I'd only listen to it one time. And so when Black Codes from the Underground, and I don't think I know that I hadn't heard it, and if I had heard it, I hadn't paid attention to it. So this week for me was eye-opening on Wynton Week as well. Yep. And not that it ruined it, but it just blew me away and opened my eyes to how truly great of a performer, of a musician, of a person that Wynton is. And I'm going to say this openly, Wynton, if I ever get a chance to meet you, I hope you're a hugger, because I'm going to give you a big hug. I'm going to give you a man-sized big hug.
That's awesome. I don't know what I would say to him. I really don't. I've been stuck since last year watching all of the videos that he is in, every single lecture that he's given, whether at Harvard, which is, I love to watch those as they talk, but Jazz at Lincoln Center, everything that he's done to educate. And I think this is the place where the division happens in people. If you're going to lead the next generation into jazz music, if you're going to take that step to bring this music back to the forefront, you're going to have people who want to fight that and wrestle with that. And since the 80s, he's been doing this. Well, long before the 80s. But when he started playing, he's decided and made this in his head, I'm going to be bringing jazz back. And I think that the traditionalism from him is part of that. But he is so technically proficient at what he does that it is what it is. But I'm so proud to say that I spent a lot of time watching his videos because I want to glean some information. What is he really teaching? And he's just teaching some basic fundamentals. Get the music in front of the kids. Give them an opportunity to learn. Give them an opportunity to strive to something. And that's what I think
and
about this.
and be passionate about it. He comes across as a focused individual and without having to yell. He can be passionate without raising his voice. Whereas me, I get involved in when I'm talking to my clients about IT stuff, I get passionate and I get excited and I talk louder and I'm animated because I'm excited about it. And this
Yeah.
I feel like he would be the same way, but he can be passionate about it while still keeping his
Yep.
his tone and his timbre together. Let me throw this slideshow up real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got hijacked thing again. It says,
I love that.
whatever you do it to jazz. I love that. Anyway, so yeah, we're talking about Wynton Marsalis, Black Codes from the Underground. There's a picture of the album cover. I love the album artwork. Him sitting in class as a young kid, with the horn sitting there, and he's kind of looks like he's daydreaming about, man, what could I do with that horn? What could I do with it? Those are the kind of pictures, the images that go through my mind. I wonder what I could do if I really learned how to play that thing, and that's the album artwork for me. Just a couple of pictures of Wynton. Man, he's just so cool looking.
He's always been a sharp dressed dude.
Yeah.
And there's so much. If I could tell anybody, just go suck up Wynton Marsalis for a week. Listen to some of this, and when he talks about why he dresses the way he does, it just blows me away. Makes me think I need to wear suits, at least a vest, because that picture's killer.
That picture is killer. I love that picture. A quick quote from Wynton, and this was going to tie back into the conversation we had at the beginning of the episode. Through improv, jazz teaches you about yourself. Through swing, it teaches you that other people are individuals too. And if I'm going to keep going with that quote, that you have to learn how to play with, that you have to learn how to improvise with, back and forth, talk, call and response. And that's going right back to that very first conversation or statement that you made, about Lily going to camp and how much fun she's going to have. So she's going to learn more through jazz about herself, but through some of the swing music, learning about other people too.
And when you hear Wynton talk about that quote right there it's at Harvard when they're interviewing him about it, simplicity, jazz requires creativity, communication, and community. And when you learn to communicate with each other, the world is going to change.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Next slide, the information slide. He was born in 1961, still alive today. So that makes me happy. Influences, some of the biggest, he talks about in the YouTube the video that I watched from a 2023 interview. He talks about his father was his principal teacher and his biggest influence. And why not? I mean, you've got, Ellis Marsalis as your dad, and that's going to be one of your biggest influences. And in the book, he tells a story about how they're sitting around the table. Who are they sitting around the table with, Drew? When he was a kid?
Oh, Al Hurt.
Yeah.
Clark Terry, Miles Davis. They're just sitting around as a kid. And that always cracks me up. Yeah, I'm sitting around with those three, and my dad looks down and says, well, Wynton might as well be a trumpeter with all you guys sitting around. At age 9, Al Hurt brings him a trumpet.
Yeah.
Come on. If those are the people you're chilling with,
come on. But Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, Clark Terry, Dizzy Gillespie, and Wayne Shorter were some of the other influences that were listed on the wiki page when I was reading about Wynton. And you know what? Those are some of my influences too.
Oh, yeah.
Clark Terry. Oh, the more that I learn about Clark Terry, the more that I just fall in love with the guy.
Right?
The more that I learn about Dizzy, forget about Wayne Shorter. I just forget about him, because we're going to have a week-long YouTube discussion just about Wayne Shorter. I promise you that would be a double episode.
That into 4 episodes.
Right. But for Wynton to have the same kind of influences, man, that just it humanizes him to me.
He also made a comment about Clark Terry. I wanted to learn to play like him with a clear, precise notation. And I read that again this morning as I went went crazy over it. Just what did I miss in my notes? What should I have included?
Yeah. Yeah. It's got 42 studio albums as the leader. 42 studio albums. He's got 17 collaboration albums and 26 live albums as an artist.
Man,
Yeah, what a discography. I mean, again, you think about sitting down and listening to one album, Black Coats from the Underground, for instance, at an hour and what is it, an hour and 8 minutes or something,
yep.
and that's a lot of music if you sat down and listened to his whole collection. And I'll go over my list of what I listened to this week in just a minute. But genre that's listed for him, of course, is jazz, post bop, mainstream, which I didn't even know was a genre, mainstream, Dixieland, and classical. And we've touched on the classical part. I don't really think I've heard him play much Dixieland, but
no, I bet if you did, you might appreciate Dixieland a little bit more.
Oh, wait a minute! I take that back. Yes, we have heard him play Dixieland.
Yeah.
The awards, 9 Grammy awards, and these are literally just I'm talking a thimble's worth of awards that I just listed. 9 Grammy awards, the Louis Armstrong Medal of Excellence Award, and the Dutch Edison Award, which is a very, very high honor award. Oh shoot, it escapes my brain now, but I put that in there for a reason. The Dutch Edison Award is a very, very high award. Currently, he's working as the artistic director at the Lincoln Center for the Lincoln Center of Jazz. My goodness, their schedule is tremendous for the 2024-2025 year. I may get a chance in early 2025 to go see the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra and
Nice.
be in the same room breathing the same oxygen as Wynton Marsalis. So I'm super excited about that. He does have his own website, wyntonmarsalis.org. We'll put that link in the show notes. Today in jazz history, today's May 22nd. The pianist Sun Ra is born in 1914, and I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that Sun may be coming up in Art's journey somewhere. And then also on today's history, Ornette Coleman records "Lonely Woman" in 1959. The reason I put that in there is because we've talked about 1959 a couple of times already, and there's some big things that happened in 1959
It's
in
a
Ornette
huge
Coleman.
year for music.
Yeah. So anytime I see 1959 now, it's just caught my eye as something that's important in jazz history. But yep. Well, thanks for letting me show that.
I always love these slides, man. It is so nice to see the facts presented. As we change back over to the scene, 1959 was a big year. It was Riverside Blue Note. That's what we talked about during Abbey Lincoln.
Yep.
I'm only saying that because I'm going to interject this. In 1986, the year that this album came out, pause. I love
85.
I love to get it 1 year wrong every time. 1985, when this album came out, Blue Note had reestablished itself as a record label. From 1979 to 1985, Blue Note was not in existence. So that made me think about that with 1959, Blue Note, how explosive, Charles Mingus, Giant Steps, all those albums that came out, not to mention then Abbey Lincoln. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about Black Coats from the Underground for just a minute. It's got seven songs. Black Coats from the Underground being the very first one. That it blows me away. It just does. Go ahead. You got something to say?
no, I was just going to say that this week it was a big deal because I actually wrote a lot of information about each one of these songs. It hit me. It really hit me that week. I want you to continue on though.
Well, no, you know what? Well, let's talk about Black Codes. Let's talk about it.
I wrote down here the frantic open, the chorus, the pace, and the sound changes, and then his solo, Wynton's solo on that. I put off key and less frantic. You can almost follow it in that. You can anticipate the run of notes too.
Yeah. Yes,
It
for sure.
it was just I'm hearing it in the back of my head now, thinking, "Yep, yep,
Yeah, and I'm thinking of when he takes that solo all the way up to the stratosphere. It kind of makes my elbow go, "Whoa, dang! Oh, here it goes!" I
yep."
love it. I
And
do.
then of
I
course
have.
Branford's solo on it as well. Less melody used and more blue notes.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
find it interesting as brothers. Would I want to be on an album with you? And would I want three of them? Would I want to have to follow you, or am I going to do my own thing? And I wondered, I always wondered this, and I'm sure I'll find it on Google. Why only three albums together? And
Well,
why after those do they very rarely play together?
unfortunately, it was 3 weeks after this album was released when they actually broke up. When Black Codes was released, 3 weeks later is when
Oh,
this quintet broke up and went on to find some other performers to perform with. Now, here's why I think they broke up. No, wait a minute. What did I say? Did I say I said 3 months? Did I say 3 months?
three
Three
months?
months later, yeah, they broke up. Branford and Kenny Kirkland joined Sting. A less intense environment for playing. Maybe they needed a chance to just kind of
Yeah.
relax and move on to something different. Where Wynton was hardcore. You got to do it this way, and Sting says, "Hey, man, do your thing.
Do your
Let's
thing.
sound great. Let's sound great together." I don't know. I love I love Branford with Sting. I really do.
Oh
Englishman in
yeah.
New York. If I was on a deserted island and I can only listen to 10 songs, Englishman in New York might be one of those songs where I wouldn't mind listening to for the rest of my life.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. Chambers of Tain off this album would be
Oh,
another one
yep.
that I
Yep.
wouldn't mind listening to for the rest of my life if I could only pick
You know
10
what?
things to listen to.
And that reminds me, because I think that we're going to get to Chambers Attain. We need to listen to that song. Um, I want to drop those audio clips in here so that as we continue to talk about this, we can focus on why someone should be listening to this album. Should they? Absolutely. Period. No questions about it. Will they? I hope y'all do.
I
Uh,
hope you did,
I hope,
so that
yeah,
you do
I
have
hope
an
you did.
understand, yeah, of what we're talking about, of just how great Wynton is.
Yeah.
So the all right, so we want to let's move down to Chambers of Tain then. That's song number 6 on the album, and for me, this song reminds me of a relay race. And at the beginning of the song, that the get to the starting line, and the guy says, "On your marks, get set," and then there's in the spot within the first, I don't know, 30 seconds of the song where you can picture, boom, he fires that starting pistol and the race is off. Now, a relay race, of course, you've got multiple runners, you got multiple soloists on this album, but it's that handoff that's important. Yeah, you could run that first leg of the race and be in third or fourth, fifth place, but man, you got to hand that baton off to the next guy and let him take his lap as well. So I'm going to play this clip real quick. We're going to try and be as quiet as we can, so that you get the idea. But in Chambers of Tain, right at about 150, right around the 2 minute mark, you'll hear that handoff where Wynton is finishing his solo, Branford's ready to come in. They play the exact same phrase as that handoff takes place. Wynton drops out, and then it's Branford's turn. So here we go. Let me play it real quick. Right there. You heard the handoff.
Yep. Changing the baton. Your turn to
Changing the
run.
baton. Yep, it's your turn to run. it's your yeah, very good, because it's a relay race. So then Branford comes in and he wails on his lap, and he's
Oh yeah.
and then they're just, oh my goodness, this is just so exciting to me. Just this week was just so, it was just so exciting. Just
It was. My biggest note next to this is what can you say but wow?
yeah,
When you hear it, and I go back to the brother conversation a lot, when you hear those two side by side just going at it, you know that they've sat. We're going to get to we folk in a moment, but they've sat in the same room. Hurry up and practice so I can go outside, man. Get off the keys. Phil, are you done playing the piano yet? Your hour up? I've got to play so that I can go out and play capture the flag too. So hurry up and practice. And then as adults, they're doing that relay race.
yeah.
What other
Yeah,
clip
for
did you
sure.
want to play on this?
All right, so Chambers attained still, and this one, I'm not a drummer, so I don't know. I don't understand all the technicalities, but this song was written uh, for uh, for Jeff. I mean, his nickname is Tane, right? So the song is written for Jeff. Chambers of Jeff. His nickname is Tane. Chambers of Tane. But in this one, it gets me every time I listen to it. It sounds like he sucks the air out of the entire room with one cymbal hit. And maybe we need to have Delaney on to explain how it would happen. But let me play this clip. This clip is at between 425 and 440, so it's going to be a little bit shorter clip than what I played before. But I just want you to hear it. Here we go. He just says,
It's like a little boy named.
yeah.
Everybody got quiet.
The precision, the craftsmanship, the awareness, the creativity. Can you guess what our scores are going to be?
Well, let's keep talking. Because what I wish that we would have done is a little bit more of Kenny Kirkland playing in the beginning of that. Because his piano on that was just banging. And then
Yeah.
Jeff's just like, "Tsk, I'm going to suck the air out and we're going to start all over again." It's like the end of the race. Oh, we're not done yet. Keep running. You just,
Yeah. Well,
it was
well,
like a water
Jeff
grab
takes
on a
over that.
marathon.
Jeff takes over that final leg, and I believe they win the race because, man, the last couple of minutes of this, couple of seconds of the song is them just cheering and hugging and.
That's
Boy.
awesome.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I want to start with We Folk, which was actually the second song on this album. And the reason is that for a year to come, and even over last summer when we were, I got to remember which one we record or which we talked about live there with Dad and Mom at the breakfast table. But this starts out like a couple of brothers sharing a brief conversation. And there were three boys in the family. Matt's oldest, I'm the middle, and then we've got little brother, which is just a year and a half younger than me. So he and I would go at it back and forth to the point of exhaustion. And if Matt had to say, y'all better stop, and if Mom jumped in, we were all in trouble. And so the we folks, for we folks, go ahead and play this because it's like the conversation.
I'm tearing up.
Man, that to me is that intro conversation back and forth. You are tearing up
I am.
because
When I think about you and Phil sitting around the table just having a discussion, yeah, and visualizing what you said, and if I got to step, well, I don't think I ever stepped in between you two, but Mom would step in.
yep.
Wow.
And when she did, like that bass line, it was
Yeah.
just this chill, relaxed. Charnett just, man, the way he intros into that, boom, 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 it hits, and you're like,
Yes.
oh man, I know that wooden
Yeah.
spoon is the next phase. I'm gonna be in
Uh-huh.
trouble. And it's not. I always remember the song being a little faster. So
Yeah.
over this last year, when I hear how slow it is, it's the building and the anticipation of what's about to come. Yeah, just phenomenal.
I remember you were home. I was in the kitchen cutting tomatoes or something, getting ready for dinner, and we were listening to it. That one section came on, and I think I told you I have a hard time picturing what they're saying in my head. And then that one lick came on, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. I told you to leave me alone. You and Phil sitting around. I told you, fool, leave me alone because I'm about to punch you. I told you. It's just that. Oh man, this,
And then mom chimes in. Y'all are
I'm
gonna get it.
gonna bring the wooden spoon. Y'all better lay off.
What an epic album this week has been, and the journey to learn what we've learned throughout this process. 17 weeks in, we hear this, and a year later we go back to it, and I'm just blown away, blown
Yeah.
away.
Yep.
So let me
Yep.
ask, what'd you rate the album at?
Wait.
Oh,
Before you do, we need to put that in the notes so that we don't overlap this. But in 2006, he was rated number 95
ooh,
in the 2006 list, and then in 99 he was at 86. So he moved up the list considerably to 83 from 2006 to the 2022 version. So I'm glad. I'm glad that he's still on the list. I'm glad that I'm glad that he's
yeah,
I'm sad because he's going to be in my final countdown if unless there's 10 better albums in the next 82 that we listen to,
yeah.
he's going to be in my top 10 for sure.
Oh yeah,
When we do our top
oh yeah.
100 recap, Wynton Marsalis will be in my top 10. He may not be number 1, but he's going to be in my
He's a
top
top
10
10. Yep.
for sure for me. So I was just I don't know. I was just overwhelmed with his
Yep.
music. So you asked me, did it shake? Okay,
Oh,
did
did
it shake
it?
my world? Oh, this
Yeah.
undeniably shook my
Yep.
world. Undeniably. Um, yeah, he's just a great artist. Just
Yep.
and I never feel bad about putting him on and listening to him,
No
whether it's
way.
watching a YouTube video or listening to his music. Did it shake your
It
world?
shook my world, and it continues to do so based on the education that he does. I watched stuff during COVID that he had recorded, just lessons for people, and I thought, man, what a cool way to learn jazz music from a legend like that,
Yeah.
a living legend, and it makes me ask, what can I learn from him on everything that's been recorded, so it will continue to shake my world. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about our rating real quick. The dinger already went off in my ears saying that time was getting close. So,
Any doubt about it? We can say this in unison because I think we both know what we gave this album. Are you ready?
all right,
Three,
ready?
two,
Three,
one.
2, 1. 10.
Tens. Look above.
10.
Tens. Perfect tens. Would
No
you have
doubt
gone
about
higher
it.
if we had a scale that allowed that?
At week 17, I'd have gone to 100. I'd have gone to 1,000 if we on a scale of
Yeah.
1 to 10, how much do I like Wynton? 1,000.
A
That's how much I
thousand.
like Wynton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Yeah.
want to go back to this. Regardless of what side of the fence you're on with Wynton, love or hate, is he a purist and a traditionalist? Is he wrong for the things that he does? You can comment below because I think that he's right where he needs to be to do what he needs to do to bring jazz back to the forefront of people's minds and hearts. Is it traditionalist? Absolutely. Is he Kamazi? Absolutely not. There is something for everything and everybody out there. Would I go hear Shabaka play the flute? Absolutely. Do I want to see Sons of Kemet live? Oh yeah. Do I wish I was alive during Bitches Brew? You bet. As far as traditional and as a trumpet player, I'll take what he's got, and I'm a fan.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Yeah, as even as far as unconnoisseurs go, and not knowing the intricacies or all of the intricacies of the chords and the structures that he's laying down, I'm a huge fan.
Yep.
Huge fan. And even if you're not a jazz, even if you don't like jazz at all, and why would you be watching? But I hope you're watching this anyways. And leave us a comment, please. Leave us a comment on the episode.
Yeah.
You could throw on Wynton and glean something from Black Coats from the Underground.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
So what do we have next week, Matt?
Next week, it always will stick out in my mind.
I love
because
that. It will always stick out in my mind
because of the fact that we knew this artist a little bit. We knew some of the music from this artist, and what I was picturing in my head and what I got in my ears was completely different. The artist is Stan Kenton, plays Robert Gradinger, and the name of the album is called City of Glass. It was released on LP and CD from Capitol Records. Now, Stan Kenton, if you know anything about Stan Kenton, he's a big band guy. I love his big band music. Absolutely, undeniably love his big band music. And I was turned on to Stan back when Delaney was at Purdue Fort Wayne, and one of her performances, they did a Stan Kenton song off of Kenton 76. And I loved the performance so much that the Purdue band did. I talked to the director afterwards and I said, what was the name of that album again? Let me look it up. I'm really interested in it. And that Kenton 76 album had been in my ear, for 2 years before we started our journey here. And I think you and I had talked about Kenton 76, but so what we were expecting
was Kenton 76. Big band sound, big waves of information. Yeah.
Yep.
But what we got, y'all have to listen to the album City of Glass for yourselves and find out next week what we really thought.
Yeah.
1951.
For sure.
And I do see here, Maynard Ferguson is one of the trumpet players on here. I think we talked about that last week. John Coppola, or last year.
Yep.
So those, Stan Kenton, I don't know Robert Gradinger is the composition. I don't recognize really any of those names. So this is going to be a fun week.
Oh, it's going to be a great week. Stay tuned for our score comeback for our next episode and see how we rate Stan Kenton plays Robert Gradinger. The name of the album is City of Glass. Drew will have the artwork up. What an episode, man. I was so excited to record today. I hope you guys got some information that we were excited about Wynton. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what you would have scored Wynton. Black Coats from the Underground specifically, because that was the album that we were talking about.
Yep.
And for future, man, like and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Yep.
Just
absolutely
listen in. And that reminds me that you can find us on the web, theunconnoisseur.com. Email us at theunconnoisseur@gmail.com. You can find Matt doing TikTok at The Unconnoisseur. And obviously you're here on the YouTube channel, so you know that we are the Unconnoisseur.
And Drew, you're knocking out the shorts. Don't forget to mention the shorts.
The shorts are coming out from the long form video, and I'll be adding more in during this week as I find the rhythm of that, just as far as information of the artist and more. But if you're listening on podcast, we appreciate the fact that you're tuned in on a podcast at Amazon, Spotify, and Apple.
Yep.
If you are doing that, drop by the YouTube so you can see the slideshows that Matt puts together each week, and just to see our beautiful faces, baby. Nothing more than just to see our beautiful faces. So thank y'all for joining us. I think that we could have done a 2-hour episode on Wynton and not had any issue with it, because there's just so much to learn from him as an instructor, as a director, as so many Grammys, so much stuff that he's touched on. So, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in.
Yeah, thanks so much. Have a great week, guys.
From the Unconnoisseurs, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
This is AI-generated Wynton Marsalis, Give the unconnoisseurs a listen on their YouTube channel and be sure to like and subscribe.